Well, once again, we're ready to get back and play another conference game against an opponent that has had our number since I've been here. I think Coach Fitzgerald does a great job. They're very stout and physical on defense. They've always given us problems with their defensive line and linebacker core of the front seven, and this year is no different. I think that it was good to see our team fight and find a way to win in the last game, and a close game, and definitely not everything went perfect throughout the game, but we played to the end, and numerous guys stepped up when they had to, and that was good to see. So that's kind of how we're going to have to find a way to win this year, is just playing hard, playing together, playing to the end, and seeing if we can sneak out a victory. But we're definitely looking forward to going up to Northwestern in an environment which we have not had success, and seeing if we can improve and have a good day. So,
Brian?
Can you update us on Jack Plummer?
Jack Plummer probably be out for the year. He's on his way to the doctor today just to see whether he will require surgery or not on a broken ankle.
What about Elijah? Do you have any sense for him, whether you might get him back at some point?
I'm not optimistic that Elijah will be back this year, but I don't want to rule it out completely.
How much do you have to, if at all, change things for Aiden, or can you run everything you wanted to run before with him?
Well, I think we're at a point where we really can't lose another one, so we want to somewhat protect him to a certain degree. He's not as good a runner as Jack or even Elijah. That's not his strength. So we've got to do what he does best. So yeah, it'll be an adjustment, and also keeping him healthy will be an adjustment as well, because like I said, really we're at a point where we want to keep him healthy, or we could have a rough go.
Is there anything this season that's kind of taught you personally about coaching? You've had to adjust to so much stuff on the fly. Anything like that?
Well, yeah, I think every year you learn a little something, and you do some things wrong you wish you could take back, and you do some things that you can improve upon. I think some years you're going to have a little luck on your side, without question. Some years maybe you're not, and with the scenario we're in, I think it's important, which we tried to do last week, that you got to let your guys play, and you got to let them fight through their mistakes, and you can't just forcefully correct everything all the time. And I think we were at a point a little bit where we really were trying hard to win, which is good, which is what you want, but I think our guys were feeling the pressure a little bit, and last week we tried to pull the reins back a little bit, let them play through their mistakes, and hope that we can find a way to win. And fortunately it worked for us. We've got who we have out in the field, and a lot of them are young, and you have to let them play, and practice is great. You can do a lot of good things in practice, you can work hard, but really not until you get into the game in a real setting. When things are on the line, you see how guys react, and we've got to push hard in practice, but yet allow our guys to play during the game and let them play through their mistakes.
What brought you to the point where you decided that was the way you wanted to handle last week, if anything?
Well, I think that as you look at where you're at and where you're trying to go, and I probably was a little too demanding on the quarterbacks during the game. Tried to kind of give us a spark 2 games ago before the game and get us going before we took the field to make sure we're ready to play. It probably got me going too much. And really in the end, quarterbacks, all the other positions that are new as well, they've got to feel that you're behind them. They got to feel that you're going to be with them even when things aren't going the way they want. And that sometimes it's hard to do, but you've got to consciously get that done. And I think that's just part of coaching. I think for those of us that have played before, you don't want a coach that's letting you know everything you screw up all the time. You want to see a guy that's positive, trying to pick you up, trying to encourage you to just stay with it and continue to fight. And I think as a coaching staff, we did a better job this past game of that.
Is that something that happened during your playing career, where there was a coach or coaches that were taking the approach that you were taking, and maybe you needed something else at that time?
Well, every coaching staff is different. I know probably my high school coach is one I take the most from, because he was a guy that, while he knew football, his love for his players were definitely his strength, and I think his players played for him because of that. And yeah, we probably won quite a bit, so maybe there wasn't those tense moments where you had to kind of figure out when to kick somebody in the rear or when to pick them up. But you know, I think in general, the best coaches I've been around are ones that you know, coach you during the week, educate you, teach you, motivate you, but yet when it's time to play the game, they're behind you, and they are trying to find ways to pick you up. And even though they can correct you sometimes, it's in a way that you're trying to get them to maximize their potential, and you want them to go out there and improve. But you know, the game day, there's a lot of pressure on these young guys, and you got to do your part to make sure you at least try to take some of it off.
What does your, beyond Aiden, what does your quarterback depth chart look like now?
Well, you know, Aiden will start the game. Paul Paferi is a freshman that we brought in that will be the next guy up. And you know, after that, we'll have to get an emergency third string quarterback.
Any candidates for that emergency third string?
Well, Jared Sparks is been out, so you know, he's not up for it. And you know, some other guys that we probably could play, but they're not ready as well. So you know, we got to put some thought into it. You know, we have a few candidates, but we're still trying to weed our way through it.
Is Corello one of those?
Oh yeah, you know, correct. I'm sorry. Danny Crowe will be third on the depth chart. You know, he's had an injury all last year that kept him out, and he's back. But you know, really, he hasn't worked a ton at quarterback. Kind of been more of our red zone punter, so to speak, or plus 50 punter a little bit, and has been a good holder for us. But yes, he will be available as well.
The weekly Rondell Moore question.
Well, we'll see how that goes. You know, it's got to the point I'm not optimistic of anything until I see what we need to see. So, you know, at this point, you know, I'm not optimistic about this week, but we'll see how it progresses.
Just with Aiden, kind of what do you see as his strengths, and how can you devise a game plan to highlight that as you go into Northwestern?
I think Aiden is a great young man and works extremely hard. He came here and has earned everything he's got. He puts in the time. He's a great teammate. His players love him. He's very unassuming. But you know what? He's really improved, and he's taken great strides. And I'll give credit to my brother Brian for helping develop him, but he's really done a good job. And you guys have heard me say all year long, we weren't hesitant to put him in, even though he hasn't played before. And I think getting a little bit of experience in the Illinois game helped him. So when he came in this last game, he did have his feet wet a little bit. He did a very good job. So he's a guy, I think, that can execute the offense. You know, if the play's there, I think he'll stand in there and try to make the throw and sit in that pocket and do the best job he can. I think he is an accurate passer that you know, has good fundamentals and technique and form, and has worked hard to perfect his throwing mechanics and craft. So you know, we've got to play to his strengths and help him get in a rhythm and get completions. I think extending the play and getting yards with his feet is not his strength, but you know what? He still has to be able to do it at times.
And you talked all year about just the players around your quarterback having to step up and play better. Does that even more so now this week?
Without question, I think that our offensive line has improved, and they're getting better, and they're working hard, and that I know for sure. And they put in extra time before, during, after practice, each week. I think they're gelling together a little bit. gotta continue to get better. This front will be one of the better ones we're gonna face. And, they're big, they're strong, they're physical, and, they've done a good job 2 years in a row against us at creating pressure, and even more so this year, it's concerning. So we've gotta do a good job. We've gotta be able to run the ball effectively. We've gotta be able to get some completions and throw some play actions and take some shots off of that. And I think their play will be critical in this game. And then, our tight ends, I think, have stepped up and done a decent job. And our receivers, the ones that we have available are playing hard. I think we saw some progress from Milton Wright, which was good to see. Ahmad Anderson, Jackson got a little nicked up, had to play both inside and out, and I think you'll see him do more of that. And really, the four receivers that have played that are left are the ones we're kind of riding with, and they've got to be able to go quite a bit, and if not, the next guy has to be ready to go.
Why is King Naru kind of hitting a stride right now?
I think King works hard, he runs hard, he's got some physicality to him. I think we've been a little more committed to trying to get the run game going, in which we still will do that, if not more so. And, he's, I think, got a bright future, and came in here with a lot of confidence. Just made some big plays for us. If you give him some space, he'll run hard. And that's what he's got to continue to do, is maybe just making sure he trusts the hole, trusting that there's going to be one. And if not, occasionally you got to ram it up in there. A couple times we may have bounced some things out a little too much, but yet a few times he did, and he made some plays. So he'll just continue to get better. I think Xander was a good compliment for him this past game. You'd like to see him continue to improve and do some good things, but he plays hard. And then, but yes, King, we're happy with the way he works.
After looking at the film, what stood out about what your defense did overall in the Nebraska game?
Well, I like the way our defense came ready to play. I think playing hard and playing to the end, and just finding a way at times was their strength. We gave up a couple big plays, on third down, but we held them in check for the most part. They're big playmakers. When they got in scoring territory, that's when we were really good, and we kept them out of the end zone. We had a turnover. We gave them the ball on the 4-yard line, and they held them to 3 points, which was huge. They got in the red zone, and Corey Trice made a great interception on a post wheel route that last year they hit us on like 3 times, and he came off of his receiver and trusted he had another safety over there, and read the throw and was right there to make the pick. That was great progress. They tried to run a little pick play down inside the 5-yard line that we do have man coverage, but we switched it off and got the sack to push them back another 7 yards. So a couple little subtle things really helped us, and I think just playing hard was the best thing we did. But they kept us in the game early, and the one turnover we got was crucial.
What happened on the 2 punt blocks? Where were the breakdowns in those two plays?
Well, it was a combination of a few things. We blocked the wrong person one time. I think really both in general. Collins took too long to punt the ball, and we do have the rugby punt that we've been using, but he has to be alert to what is coming, and if something's coming, he's got to catch it and get it out. And only if we feel like we got some room can he kind of buy some extra time. And they got us, and but it wasn't all his fault. We blocked the wrong guy once, and we went the wrong direction with one of our guys up front one time that allowed a guy to sneak in on the backside. So it's a combination of things that we definitely got to get cleaned up. Having 2 turnovers in the game and 2 block punts, you're not going to win many games like that. So there's numerous things we have to clean up, and special teams being efficient. We didn't win the field position battle at all, and then 2 turnovers on offense. We have to get that fixed.
Hey Jeff, you talk a little bit about the recruitment of Aiden O'Connell, or how he got to campus. Do you remember?
I know Aiden and his family came down on a trip. I'm trying to think back. I have a friend of mine who's kind of a quarterback coach up in that area, Jeff Christensen, who works out some guys, and kind of told me about Aiden, and that he'd worked with him and thought he had some good tools, and so we brought him down and showed him around, and invited him to be a preferred walk-on. And I think he may have had a few other small opportunities, maybe, but I'm not for sure. I mean, I'm really not. He may not have. I know, he took us up on the offer, and we had to convince him a little bit, but he took us up on the offer, and ever since, he just kind of came down and really been a great teammate that just kind of works hard and puts in the time. All the players love him. He's got a great personality, super person. And you know what? He just kind of continued to get better and better. And throughout the course of the last 2 years, his throwing ability, his ability to kind of pick up the offense and make plays when he got in practice, he has done a good job. And that's kind of, when we got him in some scrimmage settings, decision making, when even though it wasn't live tackling the quarterback or close to live, needed to improve. But those were the subtle things that he just needed to work on, and that's what game experience will get you. But he's a great worker, and I'm very proud of the improvement he's made at this point.
Hey, we talked to Aiden after the game. He said that reverse by David Bell was a play he just put in this week. I'm curious. I mean, I don't want you to reveal any trade secrets, but how many new plays do you typically put in a week?
Well, we carry quite a bit, and that play we may have put in before, but it was kind of off the shelf.
Okay.
And then we brought it back for this week and had it down in the plus 20 area as a reverse off the power and the speed sweep motion. And we liked it in practice. We only repped it a couple times, but those type of plays we make sure to always rep on the Thursday practice before we play. And we were comfortable with it. We had worked it enough. We had talked about it quite a bit, and they executed perfectly.
Typically, when you start a game, do you script the first 10, 11, 12 plays?
Yeah, we will. We'll script the first, always have at least 8. Sometimes we have more. Some games they work, some games they don't. So, we're not afraid to go off of it. We're not afraid to continue on it. Normally we'll have the next 20 plays that we like as well. I mean, we stay strictly to it, but from the first day to the next 20, we kind of have those of what we like. And based on kind of what we're seeing and how things are going and who's hot, we will adjust it.
Philip?
Just the Drew Brees pregame speech, which has been seen by a zillion people already. What was you're standing back there and kind of taking it all in like the players. What was going through your mind?
Well, Drew Brees came in and the speech was outstanding. He did a tremendous job. We always know he's a tremendous advocate for our program, this university, and represents it in every the best way possible. We were thankful he came in on this bye week, which he's done before, to support us. And I know he had a lot of things going on, a lot of people to see, but him coming in the locker room before the game, which really it wasn't even just a speech. He was in there and he wanted to be in there the entire time. He even said, hey, I want to absorb it and see how you guys do it. And that just goes to tell you he's always wanting to learn, I guess, and get better and see how other people do things. But his speech was outstanding. I think it really hit to the heart of what our team needed to hear. It's one thing when you hear it from coaches, but it's another thing when you hear it from a legendary Hall of Fame NFL player from this university. So I think it was outstanding. We appreciate him, saying those words to our team, and it meant a lot.
Northwestern obviously is going to, well-coached program. They won the Big Ten championship last year. Had a difficult year. Some similarities to yours in terms of injury. Just an overview of the Wildcats, what you expect to see from them on Saturday, and then also maybe speak to their quarterback situation because they've got some injuries as well.
Well, I'm 0-2 since I've been here against them, and I know they're well coached, and I know they don't beat themselves, and that's kind of what we have to be cautious of. We cannot make critical mistakes because they'll capitalize on it, and it'll be a long day for us. So we have to try to beat them at their own game, which is playing harder, which is playing tougher and smarter, and taking care of the football and not giving them turnovers that they can convert to points. And I think if you do that, you'll have a chance. And the big, the physical up front, especially on the defense side of the ball. Offensively, like everywhere, they've had some spurts here and there, and played a couple different quarterbacks. They've had a good running back. They try to be physical and control the football. So that always makes it tough because you know, against a team like this, and in general, it's always beneficial if you can get a lead and make them do things that they're not the most comfortable doing. But this is a disciplined team, and they've been there and done that. They've been in hard times before, and they've fought out of it. So without question, we know it's going to be a very, very difficult game for us to go on their home turf and find a way to win against a team that we have not beat the last couple of years.
Coach, going back to Aiden real quick, after the game he said he never actually took a physical rep on that last play of the game that you guys, the reverse to David, but he took a mental one. How often do you expect your quarterbacks to kind of be able to do something in a game? I know Aiden was obviously not the starter for the game, but how often do you expect them to be able to perform a play or a sequence of plays off mental reps in your offense?
Well, normally in general for our starter, he's probably going to get 75% of the reps throughout the week, and then our backup will get about 25%. And you know, that's really with the ones and twos, and sometimes even more at some of the lineman positions or receiver positions. But at quarterback, you like for your starter to get most of the reps. It's a play we've kind of either repped or walked through quite a bit. I think they all understood it. You know, we had it called, and then we had a timeout, and we kept it up. We talked about it. It really wasn't a difficult play for the quarterback. You kind of put a guy in motion, you fake the handoff, and toss it to the receiver. But all the elements of the motion and the blocking up front and the running back rolling over the ball and the receiver lining up on line of scrimmage, you're going to run the reverse, all that played into it. But, you know, he's a smart young man, and I don't think he would have had an issue with it, whether we call timeout or not. He would have executed perfectly, and he pays great attention to studies, and he has a great grasp of what we're doing.
Just continuing on with that, besides that last play, does that happen quite a bit in your offense though, whether it's just a regular, you know, trap play up the middle or a regular passing play in your scheme? Does that happen quite a bit during a game, or is that something that you try to stray away from throughout the week?
Which part is that?
Just taking mental reps, like if a quarterback had not taken a physical rep on a certain play.
Well, you know what, as we get into the game and he gets in there, you're really trying to call what works, and you know, whether he actually took that rep in practice or not. As long as we repped it, you know, we keep track of all the plays we rep in practice. Those are the plays that we're trying to run and that they need to know, because we've ran them in practice, we've watched the video, we've talked about it, you know, sometimes if we need to make adjustments, we can pull out of the libraries and things we've worked before. But in general, you know, all the plays we run in practice, we expect all of our starters and backups to know, because we've ran them and we've watched the video on them and we've talked about it. And I think Aiden can do that very easily.
One more from Mike here.
No Jeff Chart this week to start?
Well, you know, it's more than likely going to be what we left it as, and we'll see. There are some guys nicked up this week that we got to figure out, will they be available by Thursday? It's really the goal is to try to get them available as fast as you can. Hopefully not Tuesday to Wednesday, but not Wednesday, really by Thursday. They need to try to be out there, and then there are a few exceptions that if they're not ready by Thursday, they've played before, they got experience, and they can still go on Saturday. So that's kind of where it's at. We did have quite a few guys. It was a physical game, get nicked up this past week, and you know, and some key guys that you know that have played for us. So that's going to be the challenging part. But in general, I think other than Jack, we have a chance for most of the others to be back.
You talked earlier about Sparks. Have you ruled him out for this week?
I'm not optimistic about Jared, unfortunately.
Cornell Jones?
No, he won't be ready this week.
Is that it? Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No press conference next Monday.